Welcome back to Another Man's Shoes, and in this episode we're joined by Matt Hellyer, who's the CEO of the Pilgrim Bandits charity. Matt, former member of 22SAS and a paratrooper, has a wealth of experience in operational environments around the world, and as part of that he has seen some nasty things. He's lost friends and colleagues, and this inevitably impacts their mental health. He takes that experience as CEO of the Pilgrim Bandits, and he's going to talk to us about his thoughts and how he overcomes mental health issues and what he can recommend to others who are struggling. It's a very informative episode, some dark moments, but I hope that you enjoy this and you can take something away from it. But without further ado, please welcome Matt Hellyer.
Hi, Ed. Thanks a lot. Just to start off, really, where we are and why we've put together the series of podcasts, gladly hosted by you. And we're looking at the mental health situation throughout the military, the police, and our blue light services. And we can see that probably due to lockdown and due to the sort of depressive state the country and the world is in at the moment, we seem to have an increase in mental health issues, which is leading to a huge amount of suicides. And it's becoming extremely disturbing for all of us who have suffered, served, and are part of the community now. So it's an initiative really that is being driven by the Pilgrim Bandits and yourself, Adam, to try and put out some people's experiences of their mental health, how they deal with it, and whether that can help anyone else who are considering or suffering a bit of a downturn at the moment. The aim of it really is to try and help people, to try and get them out of that rut, try and get them out of that dark place, and just try to show that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Again, you know, I'm an ex-soldier, 25 years in the military. I first served in the 3rd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, and then led on, done selection, and ended up in A Squadron 22SAS for the next 15, 16 years. My first real experience of mental health issues was when I was caught in a bomb blast in 1992, and one of my colleagues and close friends stepped on a pressure pad, he's well known, and lost both legs. And I was actually in the blast zone and administered first aid. It was extremely shocking at the time and took its toll on me and the remainder of the patrol. The victim survived, and the victim went on to have an extremely successful career as a professional sports personality, sportsman, freefaller, really. But what happened was that after the incident, I was taken into hospital and spent a night in hospital under the observation of a psychiatrist, because they identified that the incident that we'd been in, we would have suffered possibly some sort of mental trauma from what I'd seen and what I'd administered. To me, that was a bit over the top. You know, I was a young, feisty paratrooper. I just wanted to get back on the ground, although, you know, I had a real shock, you know, being part of that incident, and it hit me emotionally and physically, you know, hit me for six, really. But I still wanted to get back out on the ground with the guys. I felt guilty. I needed to be on the patrol. It wasn't until I got back to London, where I was living at the time, a number of months later, that it was my colleague, my friends actually from school, you know, you grow up, and all the friends from school, my community, that they noticed that something was wrong. I was extremely aggressive. I drank a lot when on leave, and we was constantly in trouble. And we lived in South London. We had an Irish community that we were usually close with, but I took it upon myself to blame the Irish community of South London for what had happened to my colleague in Northern Ireland. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that friends actually, and I'd calmed down a bit, and friends actually pulled me to one side and said, you know, you was you was like off the record, really. You was drinking too much. We were causing fights. We were in trouble. We were getting lifted by the police. Thank God the army was a little bit more lenient back then. Otherwise, I'd have been kicked out of my ear. And it wasn't until I spoke to members of that patrol later on, years later, that everyone suffered a similar experience. I sort of, what I thought was really, I sort of got over that incident and then pushed on and had a successful career. And it wasn't until the end of my career, that again, I noticed that I was sort of slipping into depression and a bit of a depressed state. So sometimes I would wake up and I was working on my own in London on a desk job, on the final stages of my career. So I didn't really have the camaraderie around me, the banter that was going on. And it was just, some mornings I would wake up absolutely in a dark place. Didn't want to get out of bed. Felt utter crap, and I couldn't really understand what the problem was. And I think it was just depression, just a bit of depression. It may have been from the incidents that we'd been through in the past. It may have just been, I don't know, it must, I suppose with mental health, the big stigma about it is that we don't really know what causes it, why we get it, what can trigger it. I know we're starting to identify people's trigger points. But for me, I would hit a dark place and I would try and find a way out of it. But if I couldn't find a way out of it, I'd be in that dark place for a good 3-4 days, sometimes a week, where I was the most miserable man, negative person you would ever come across. Excuse me. And then, analysing it myself, thinking, why am I into this dark place? And I could feel when I started to get a bit depressed, I realised that, I needed to get the endorphins flowing through the body. So for me, my personal treatment was to get out, go for a run, get the endorphins, get in the swimming pool, go for a swim, run around Hyde Park, jump in the Serpentine, get something going, and try and get back into that routine. Get up in the morning, do the running, so you actually feel like you achieved something. And if you can achieve something each day, whether it's just a run, a walk, something that works, something that you've completed, a bit of work that's waiting to do, your filing, your accounts, that really give me a boost. I would make sure that I'd achieve something every single day. And that really sort of kept me out of slipping too far into that dark place. If I did, and it happened a few times, and it happens very occasionally now, if I do slip into that dark place and I haven't recognised the signs correctly, then again I'm in it, and there's nothing that can drag you out of it. You are in that dark place. You don't want to get out of bed, and I just know that you've just got to ride it through, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light at the end of the tunnel is you coming out of it, you feeling a bit happier, you're getting rid of that dark place, you're getting rid of that depression. It's never really, and that's as far as I've had. I sort of personally, after speaking to some of the doctors, some friends of mine, we would like, there is everyone gets diagnosed. I'm sure if I went to the doctor, I'd be diagnosed with some sort of PTSD due to my experiences that I've had through service. But what I would like, and we would like to see, and I know a few of the mental health trauma specialists would like to see that PTSD, that stigma of PTSD is eradicated, and we come up with proper categories of mental health, rather than ring fencing everyone with, right, you've got PTSD. We ring fence it such as depression, and some sort of medical trauma, and then you could evaluate it properly. To diagnose everyone with PTSD is wrong. It could just be, I know people that have been diagnosed with PTSD. They've been kicked out of the military because of it, and now they've had that diagnosis backtracked through medical professionals, and they found that they was just literally depressed.
Yeah.
I know you've had some interesting people on this show. What we also found, through studying and looking at some of the experiences, some of the people that we have spoken to, in my regiment, in my former regiment, and some of the fantastic regiments of the British Army that really suffered a lot in Afghanistan and Iraq, is that a lot of the people that suffer from PTSD, they don't actually get it from service. The great thing about the military is that we all come from, we're not all, sorry, there's a lot of people that come from broken homes, and had rough upbringings, and they suffered a lot of mental trauma in their childhood. Whether it's a marriage breakup, a simple thing like that, marriage breakup that I had when I was 13, had to fend for myself. Or it could have been an abusive childhood, like a good friend of ours who's spoken about it openly, Phil Campion. He had a horrendous upbringing, and Phil would be one of the first to admit that those sort of traumatic instances come out in later in life. So people join the military, you have that brethren, you have the comradeship from your brothers and sisters who serve with you, and you're almost stable. The military has really good has a good platform for serving soldiers to treat them and look after them and rehabilitate them. Once you're out the military, there's literally nothing. You are turning on charities, the NHS, which is, as we know, is overworked, understaffed, and underpaid. Although they have a fantastic mental health pathway, but it's just not enough. There's not the capacity to look after us all. And what we find is that those instances through childhood actually break through, and they come through an adult life. So, and a lot of people are too fast to sort of label that as military service, whereas really a lot of people went through a lot of mental trauma in their childhood, and it comes through later in life, and it's nothing to do with the military. The military gives physicians and doctors an excuse to label us, which is I think is wrong. And it's understanding actually the triggers and what happened and the instances through your life, looking back, and if you can identify where it actually started, you can start identifying and getting a proper prognosis on your condition. So our effort are really trying to put all of our experiences, different experiences, whether in the police, the ambulance service, the fire service, or the military. We all suffer some sort of mental health issues, and we're trying to document these together on these podcasts, and hopefully give people who are suffering an indication, a help, something that they can relate to, and hopefully it will help them.
But I think one of the big things is if someone was to phone you up now, or you thought, right, you're in trouble, or a friend of yours phones you up, says, look, I need help, Matt, where would you direct them? What link, what charity, any numbers you would sort of say go and ring?
Yeah, we're quite lucky. We as a charity, as the Pilgrim Bandits, we are not. We never started off as a mental health charity, but we see mental health as one of the big problems that we've all got to come to terms with and, be open about it. It is as prevalent as a physical injury. And we find, what we I don't want to speak too far out of turn, but some of the instances that I found is that it's not the guys that have actually been injured. I mean, they do have the guilt complex, but we find that a lot of the individuals that helped the injured, or was it in that blast zone, or was part of that evacuation process, or even part of the process that the process of burying our glorious dead. That when some of the young soldiers were killed in battle, they have suffered. They're the ones that suffer. The ones with the injuries have gone through a sort of process and have been guided. I know there are some cases, and there's probably a lot of cases, but the ones that we've discussed, they're the more stable ones. They do have the guilt complex, I said, but it's the ones that were part of the saving process, the rehabilitation, and maybe the burying process. They're the ones that have really suffered from mental health. If you're seeing what they've saw.
Yeah.
But you're right, and a lot of these issues come, if you've come from a broken home, or you've been abused as a child or something like that. You've had a real rough upbringing in one of the states, up the north of England, or, you haven't had a stable childhood, then you will find that there will be issues, and those issues do come out. I mean, they really do come out. I spoke to a close friend of mine, and he was talking about the Falklands War in 1982, and he was a member of Three Para. And he told the story many times, but he was telling me the story of when Three Para were just on the brink of taking Mount Longdon, but it was on a knife edge. They'd lost so many people. And he said he saw a company from Two Para coming to reinforce Three Para. And as he was telling me, he broke down in tears, absolutely broke down in tears, and was sobbing. And I said, what's up? And he said, Matt, I've told the story 1,000 times. I've never broke down in tears like that. He said it was just that camaraderie, to seeing his friends coming through. There was a pent up trauma inside him, and it was that instance that he just let it all out, and and he felt better for it. And these are big, hard, people. Why me and you joined the military? We followed signed up to follow in their footsteps. And everyone, if you've gone through a traumatic situation, it will come out. You cannot bottle these things up. Somewhere along your lifetime, it will come out. And this is what we're trying to do: is if we can openly talk about it as friends, as comrades, as ex-serving soldiers or police officers or ambulance or fire, we can all get together and talk about it. It really lightens the burden, and we can discuss and find out what works and what doesn't work. Every person is slightly different.
That's right. And there isn't a magic pill to it, but talking to a doctor recently, and we were sort of talking mental health and just various things. And he said, but if there was one pill that I could prescribe, it would be exercise. He said that the power of exercise and getting out will do more than anything that you can stick down your throat. And he said, and it's the biggest thing. And then, sort of doing a bit of research for these podcast episodes, looking at the NHS, one of the top things they're saying is interactions with other human beings, form meaningful relationships. Don't just be sat on your phone, just looking at a computer, just getting drawn into that web of sort of despair. Get out, get on the hills, don't take pills, and just sort of get the endorphins going. Set yourself daily goals like you were just talking about, a little task, learn a new skill, whatever that might be, just baby steps, but just something different. And, also not dwelling on the past, because that just drags you back down into that pit and you want to just sort of think, take every day and move forward, set yourself, I want to achieve this by next week, or, speak to your kids, find out what they're up to, take an interest in other people's lives and help others. And I think all those little things, you put that all together, it puts you in a whole different place.
No, definitely, you're right. And it's identifying it before it's too late. And, if you do feel a bit down, then that could be your trigger. That could be your identifying, that could be the identifying mark that actually puts you into your depressive state. So it's identifying that. And as soon as you feel down, like you said, put on your trainers, go for a brisk walk, get out for a run, jump in the sea. We're doing some, and you're going to have a close friend of ours, the charities, and he's going to come on and talk about his breathing exercises and cold water training. And we've seen that so many times, some of our guys who suffer quite a lot, really find their cure through cold water, getting in the water, freezing cold water. It's invigorating. When you come out, you've actually achieved something. Your body fires, the endorphins fire around your body, and you feel fantastic. And that's what it's all about, trying to beat the depression before it gets hold of you. But unfortunately, when it gets hold of you, it gets hold of you, and you've got to ride that out the best you can.
And avoid the alcohol.
Yeah. Alcohol, drink, drugs, it doesn't help,
And same with diet, try and get good foods in you. It's, if you're sticking McDonald's down your grid every 5 minutes, then that just doesn't help. It puts you into a worse state. But I was out running the other day and I really didn't want to go. And when I came back, I felt great. And I was with a mate and he turned around and he said to me, no one ever came back off a run or doing exercise and said, I wish I'd never done that. You always enjoy what you do. And it's hard to get out the door, but you're glad once you have.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It is, and you've achieved something. You've done something for that day, which is fantastic. We can all sit at home and play on the bloody PlayStation or watch some good TV and stuff like that, but you don't feel great, do you? You end up eating junk food, getting bored. Like you said, get up, get your trainers on first thing in the morning, get out the door, go for a swim, go for a run, go for a walk. You've achieved something before you've even started your day. That's amazing. That's what's one thing is good about the army. Those 7:30 morning runs. We all whinged about them, but you know what? They set us up for the day. We'd achieve something if nothing else.
Get out your pit, when you can. Enjoy the day. Make your bed. Set yourself up.
Yeah. There's that great video on YouTube, Facebook, and all the rest of the platforms of the admiral, the U.S. admiral.
That's brilliant.
And he talks about getting up, making your bed, and you make your bed in the morning. You've achieved something already. So you've got up, you've done your daily chores, you've made a bed. That bed's ready for you to come back in after you've had a hard day's work.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've done in the military. But when you're out of the military, it's hard, and you're looking for work, or you're trying to support a family. It's a lonely place, and as soon as you feel lonely, that's when your mental health suffers. You've got no one to turn to. But we're always here. We as a charity, the Pilgrim Bandits program, we are extremely close, and we're very loyal to each other. And we're friends, we're drinking buddies, and we get out and raise the money. We're always open to welcome more people into our charity. It's an extended family, and it really helps us a lot, I think, Adam.
No, it does. And so for anyone that is listening to this, you want somewhere to look, the British Legion and your own regimental associations, reach out to someone, speak to guys in your unit, or if you think if you're listening to it and you recognise that potentially someone that you know's struggling, then you send them a text, drop them a phone call, say, hello mate, how you doing? People are feeling lonely, especially in these sort of pandemic times. That one phone call really could save someone's life.
Definitely.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on and sort of spreading the message. We'll get that out there, and even if one person looks at this and it makes a difference, then we've achieved our goal.
Definitely. 100%.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was a really interesting episode there. Learned a few things as well. And I think we can all recognise the signs of mental health decline. And one of the main points to take away from me is that you've just got to talk to each other. It really does help. Talking, doing some exercise, and just sort of speak to someone about your struggles. Get professional help. You've got your regimental organisations. There's the Pilgrim Bandits charity, a wonderful organisation that is there to help. So please, if you are struggling at the moment, reach out. Ring the NHS helplines. Speak to your organisation. Speak to your friends, family, and loved ones. But don't bottle it up. That's us. That's the mental health episode of Another Man's Shoes finished. But please leave feedback, and if you've got any questions, you want to reach out to us, we're on all the channels, so feel free, drop us a note if you're struggling, and we'll help point you in the right direction.